I feel that women have had a raw end of the deal for quite some time. They don't get the same attention, and they certainly haven't got the same facilities. They don't have the same remuneration. And I felt when the opportunity arose where I was in a position to make a difference, to truly make a significant difference, having worked with Claire Hanlon and seeing what the work that she was doing, I really felt convinced that I would invest in this chair for women in sport, because I knew it would truly, again, make a difference.
And I think that is the thing. We aren't just talking about equality when it comes to performance and pay on field. We're also talking behind the scenes, aren't we, when it comes to coaching and executive roles?
It's about providing pathways for women to be able to go and do whatever they want to do, whether it be in admin, CEO, whatever it is, that they've got the same pathways as men. And that's what I want to see happen, and that's what I think will happen. And in a few years' time, we won't be having this conversation. It'll be very different.
Why do you think we're still having this conversation in 2019?
It's taken a long time to break down barriers. I mean, for example, women's footy started in 1913. The first 100 years is always the hardest, isn't it?
Is that the driving force behind a lot of this?
Absolutely. Just seeing that women get a fair go. That's all that matters to me. I mean, people say, oh, you're a feminist. I'm not a feminist. I never have been. I've always been about fairness and giving people the opportunity, if they're good, if it's a male or a female, it doesn't bother me, so long as I've got the best person for the job.
That was something that Kate Palmer said as well. She expressed her frustration at the difference in women's sport, the language we're using in women's sport. No longer should it be that way, she is saying. No. It should just be sport.
I agree with her, absolutely. As I said to you just before, in 5 years' time, I don't believe we'll be having this conversation about men and women. And it's not one versus the other. It's about being fair. Women have their sport and men have their sport, but it's sport. It's about being active, team-based sport for men and women.
Where do you think it changes? Because when I look back as a child, it was always sport. It didn't matter if you were a boy or a girl.
Absolutely.
Where do you think that crosses over from grassroots to the elite?
Well, I think at grassroots it's remained stable. It's been pretty much the same. But as the women are now on the world stage and they're doing well, little girls are aspiring to be like them, whether it be an Olympian or being a netballer or soccer player. I think now they've got aspirations which they didn't really have before. You play till you're about 15. You give up because there's nowhere to go. There's no pathway for them. A lot of young women get to 15, they become very body conscious about how they look in uniforms. Unfortunately, that then leads to anorexia and bulimia because of their body image. So now girls are feeling more confident about themselves, more confident about their bodies, that I think they can now aspire to be better and to be more successful than back in my time.
And there's been some remarkable stories to come out of the AFLW as well. Girls that are similar to you at 15 years of age were kicking the footy around with their brothers.
Yes.
And finally,
it's here.
It's here. They get their chance.
Of their own. And we're nudging nearly 600,000 young women. I feel like I've got 600,000 young daughters out there. You know, I feel like a mum to so many of them. I've met so many of them. I've shared their stories. And it just spurs me on to want to do even more, because they're so devoted and dedicated, these women. They have families, they have jobs, they have children. They train a minimum of 21 hours a week. I'm talking about AFLW level, but even the younger kids are training. You know, they do it, they're sacrificing so much to be acknowledged and be accepted as elite athletes. And we need, again, to provide the pathways for them, whether it be umpiring, coaching. I mean, to me, it's quite sad that we don't have a female coach at this point in time. And yet we've got women in the wings waiting to become coaches, but we've still got a lot of men coaching. Well, I question that. Why is that absolutely necessary? We have men when we've got women who are very capable of coaching at a senior level. So that's something else I think needs to be looked at and rectified.
Let's talk about the grand final, October 2016,
yes.
The beloved Bulldogs.
Oh, what a year, what a year. Oh my God. I can't tell you what it meant to me. I thought I'd never see a premiership in my lifetime. I'd waited 62 years. I was too little to go to that first premiership. I listened to it on the radio with my ear to the radio. But to be there and to be part of that crowd, that was unbelievable.
What else do you think was key to winning that premiership that year?
The alliance we formed with VU in sports science. Years previously to that, we were able to tap into their sports science, which was excellent. They were leading the way a long time ago, VU. That's why I really enjoyed being involved with them, because we were able to form a strong alliance with them through their Vice-Chancellor to be able to use their facilities, use their knowledge, proper sports science I'm talking about, could come, that we'd have students who are studying at the university come and work with our team, work with our coaching and coaching staff. They were able to do all of that. So I really believe that gave us the edge, apart from everything else. I mean, being good players and coaches and the admin and everybody else involved with the club, I really do believe VU had a fair bit to do with the sports science side of things, which means now that other universities are now forming alliances with football clubs, but VU led the way. And that's why I take so much pride in VU. It is the University of Opportunity.
Let's talk about the AFLW
Yes.
Premiership. Again, how much pride did that fill you with when you were girls?
Well, this year I was in Adelaide. I went over for the Adelaide. I've been to all of them, but I was the first one. I was the ambassador. Let's go back a couple of years. I was the ambassador to present the cup, and I went up to the Gold Coast. And of course, it was the first year we made history to have a national women's competition and have a grand final. And I recall being asked to take the Premiership Cup out, and I was dressed up in my lovely jacket. It was colours of it was done by coincidence anyhow, the AFLW colours. And as I walked out and the siren went, the two teams come over to me crying. And I thought, oh my God, they're crying because they've won Adelaide. No, they weren't crying just because of that. They were crying because they wanted to thank me. That's something that really touches me, that. Come over to thank me for giving them the opportunity to play in a game that they truly loved. That to me meant more than anything, but the thing that really made me smile was when, after that I was quite emotional and they hugged me and my jacket was absolutely covered in perspiration, it was wrecked. And then they got the Gatorade out to tip on my head. I said, not with my hair, you can't do that. I've got to get on a plane and now my jacket's ruined, my hair as well. I mean, really, social media will go silly on that. So that was very special. And of course, the second one was we played the first game we played was at Carlton and Collingwood. I wanted to sit on my own to enjoy this moment in time. First time ever we'd had a women's game, 24,000 people wanted to watch this game, and I was there and I kept moving because I was crying. I'd waited over 50 years for this, and as I was moving, people thought there was something wrong with me, and I thought, if only you realise, can you leave me alone? I want to sit on my own to enjoy this moment. That was 2 occasions, but then this year in Adelaide I went over to join Nicole and others, and Nicole said to me, I've just blown my budget. This is the boss of the AFLW. And I said, why? She said, I have to keep opening up grandstands. Because I said, well, if you don't, there'll be a riot, because people were just swarming in. 53,000 people were coming in. Yeah, it may be argued they didn't have to pay, but they didn't have to come and they didn't have to stay. They stayed to the bitter end. So that was a fantastic occasion to see 53,000 people, but also that was history. Women have never had that number of people ever to watch a game of women's sport in this country. So that was history again.
I was going to say, do you think the AFLW is one of the things that you have cherished the most in recent years? Is this something you're most proud of?
Well, it's over 50 years I've been on a pilgrimage to try and establish something, and to me it is. When I go to my grave, I know that I've done something really good. I don't need much else, because I've seen the difference I've made and given women the opportunity that they so deserve.